Welcome back. Dad Kintobi joins us. He's a public affairs analyst. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Very good morning to you. You guys didn't tell me Friday is no tie day.
Yeah, once in a while. once in a while it happens. Yeah. So now you know.
Now I know. Next time I'm coming on Friday. You can even wear Agbada
since it's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nigeria first, right?
Indeed.
Okay, so let's get to the papers. Nigerian News Direct is where we're starting off from, Mr. Kintobi. And 2027. We're all one. Shettima fires unity message to APC, PDP, ADC, and others. The writer, X, says El-Rufai cannot be ignored amid power tussle. He called him enfant terrible. You may not like him, but you can't ignore him. He said he recalls Jonathan's failed attempt to remove him as Borno governor, which is what more people are more interested in, to the effect that this looks like, he mentioned the fact that there are people in the conclave of leadership, president, vice, the Senate president, and the speaker. Certain things that are not privy to any other person. These 3 people or 4 persons are privy to. And in one of those moments during Jonathan's administration, it happened. And there were people who advised the president, now you can't even remove a councillor of a local government, not to talk of or suspend elected officials like governor and members of the House. But that has sent some shocks in the system as to, was he part of that conclave and he disagreed with the president? And now he now has an opportunity to tell the world his mind. What exactly do you think is going on here, besides the headline message here?
Well, if he disagreed with the president in terms of the River State situation, he should have been mad enough to resign. You don't stay within a system that you don't agree with its principles. So as far as I'm concerned, he was a part of the administration that made the most undemocratic move of removing a governor in the name of security. In his time, what he said yesterday was that there was an attempt by former President Jonathan to remove him, but thanks to the Speaker of the House at that time, Aminu Tambuwal, and the Attorney General Adoke, they stood against it and said a president does not have the power to do that. Now the surprise is that Vice President Shettima will be talking about this publicly at a time like this, about an administration that he's a part of. So of course that has brought about notions of the fact that all is not well in Aso Rock. Remember that when the declaration was made for support for President Tinubu in 2027, Vice President Shettima's name was not mentioned.
So we're piecing it together.
Well, yes, we are taking disparate elements now and sewing them all into a tapestry of disillusionment and discontent and disagreement within the upper echelons of the APC. So there's some sense that everything that Vice President Shettima said yesterday was calculated, and it was based on what is going on behind closed doors that we are not privy to. So if you read between the lines, of course, my contention is that if he really is a Democrat and has democratic credentials, when that very undemocratic move was made to remove the River State governor, he should have stood up against it. He didn't have to go along with it. Why do we feel compelled that in a system where we don't agree with the principles, we can't stand up against them and take a stand? I guess in Nigeria, nobody resigns out of honor. You only resign if you're pushed out or if you're forced to.
That's a strong
statement. We saw Ganduje recently. He resigned technically on health grounds, but just yesterday he took up an appointment as FAN chairman. But just a couple of weeks ago, he had health problems, which was why he resigned as chairman of the APC.
So, well, they say it's personal issue. What's that language you use? Personal concerns.
Yeah. No, this one was actually attributed to health grounds.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Mr. Kintobi, let's take a look at... it's funny that this is what's on the front pages, but that is what it is. This Nigeria, next from News Direct. Let's go over to This Nigeria. And everything is talking about 2027 or the previous election or the one before. It's just election, election, election.
Yes.
You see, Tinubu's 3 million golden votes made Buhari win. Ex-SGF Mustafa under fire for downplaying president's role in emergence of predecessor in 2015. I mean, first, when the conversation started, it sounded intriguing, interesting, but now it's almost like we have bigger fish to fry.
Yeah. Well, the thing for me is that former President Buhari had those 12 million votes in 2003. Then something happened in 2007. I think it was the President Obasanjo shenanigan. He dropped to 6 million.
Yeah.
Then in 2011,
he
came back to 12 million. But in all three instances, those 12 million didn't get him the golden goose. So for all intents and purposes, those 12 million didn't get the job done. He needed some kind of a leg up. He needed a boost that would get him over the top. And I think all the legacy parties, the ACN, the CPC, which Boss Mustafa said CPC had only one state at that point in time, one governor in power at that time. But even the new PDP, they all contributed. And I think it was the coming together of all of those that helped to push him over the top. So I don't think any individual entity can claim that I made him president.
Everybody played a role.
Yes, everybody contributed. So it was a coalition of interests that gave him the push.
But do you think there are two things I'm looking at here which I would like you to speak to?
Yes.
The shots are coming from the north. The vice president has fired his own shots. A day after Boss Mustafa from the north has fired his own shots. We can go down the line.
Yes.
So on one hand, what do you make of these shots being fired from the north? That's on one hand. The other hand, the response as well seemed to be like a direct response to what we call the Abeokuta Declaration.
Yes.
The Emilokon.
Right.
When he went to Abeokuta and said Emilokon,
yes,
and talked about that if not for him,
yes,
Muhammadu Buhari wouldn't have been president. I visited the president, the then candidate, then he was crying, said, don't worry,
yes,
we can pull this together.
Yes.
So he clearly said, it was me that did the job.
Yes.
So maybe, are you think this is a reply to say, no, you didn't do the job?
Well, let me answer your first question first, and I'll come to the second. This one about the North. Many Northern elder statesmen have said it repeatedly that President Tinubu is not going to get the support of the North in his second term. That is a given. And it's been repeated over and over again. So you now look at the shots that are coming from the North. You look at the fact that that opposition, that ADC opposition, is peopled by Northern heavyweights. When you look at the David Marks, you look at the Atiku Abubakar, you look at the El Rufai. Primarily, the core of that foundation, of that coalition, is Northern people. And their expressed avowed goal is to unseat President Tinubu. So you know there is a dichotomy of interest right there between what the North is projecting for 2027 and what President Tinubu, his aspirations are. Now, coming back to the Abeokuta Declaration, remember that he talked about President Buhari went 3 times and kept falling. I remember before he said the Emiloko, he said Olule.
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 He went the first time, Olule. He went the second time, Olule.
I remember that.
So yes, that was a direct affront and essentially taking the glory that he made it happen. So this could now be the North coming to water down that assertion, saying that, okay, you played a role, you perhaps were instrumental, but you can't take the glory individually and say, you made it happen.
That's 3+ years after. I mean, isn't it cool? Why now? Because he made those statements pre-2023.
Yes.
So I think it aligns with...
almost cost him to be disciplined. Yeah. Because I remember Abdullahi Adamu almost replied the then candidate, say, in that sense, you will be disciplined, or there's a way he made a statement.
Remember that this is all about 2027. When he made that statement, he was in the ascendancy. He had momentum. He was the candidate to beat. So he had the wherewithal and the liberty to say it and get away with it. But now 2027 is coming, it's in focus, and there's a lot of going on, backroom dealing, and a lot of issues in play at the moment. But it's all geared towards 2027. And at this time, the president is on the back foot. There is a real concern about this coalition. You can see from the reaction of the presidency, you can see from the way they are coming out swinging, when they should be embracing the opposition as a good thing, that at least we have competition that can keep us on our feet and help us perform better. I think an opposition is a credit to any administration, having a viable opposition.
Well said, Mr. Akintobi. I want APC to survive. I want ADC to survive. I want PDP to survive. Let's have enough on our table. Let everybody survive so that nobody is Lord of the Manor.
Yes.
Vanguard is leading with the issue, this visa war. At least I'm happy that we at least have some things to combat with the biggest economy in the world, even if it's hurting us the more. but I just like the idea that we're on this table a bit. FG explains stance as U.S. slams tighter measures. Says 5-year non-immigrant multiple entry visa for U.S. citizens still in place. 90-day single entry visa validity period applies only to newly introduced e-visas. This is FG explaining that this is unfair reciprocity. U.S. introduces fresh $250 visa integrity fee for tourists, students, and workers. So the U.S. is saying this is their 90-day or 3-month single entry visa to say if you come within 90 days, in fact, you must come within 90 days. And when you leave, don't come back except you're reapplying, because we're just responding to what your government did to us. The government is saying that's not what we meant. What do you make of it?
Well, Trump has this, apart from, as part of his making America great, he's really streamlining this notion of immigration, whether you're going for business, for school, for even to emigrate to the United States. He's making it tougher. He seems to forget that America is made up of immigrants. Yeah. He himself, his grandfather came from Germany, came from Austria, exactly. So this notion of tightening or putting in restrictions that make it harder for people to go to America on legitimate reasons. I'm glad the Nigerian government is taking a stand to say, look, we have reciprocity. Yeah. So it's what you give us that we will also give your people. But Nigeria, as of today, our visa requirements for those coming from America are much more liberal than these terms that America is trying to give us now. And it's also disheartening to note, I don't know if the UAE is looking at what America is doing, because they also revised their visa requirements for Nigerians a couple of days ago and said it's not as straightforward. You couldn't just, before you could apply for a transit visa, you could get it through the travel agent you buy your ticket from. They've made it much harder. So I think it's only fair that what they give to us, we should give back to them. So if they're saying 3 months, single entry, let us give them 30 days, half entry.
No cheating, 50-50, as they say. Interesting point there. But the Guardian newspaper, Mr. Kitobi, yes, leads with a very interesting story, and it concerns elderly care. That is a big deal in some other climes. Elderly care is like a big industry. In fact, you have Nigerians leaving the country, going there to work at care homes, and it's a big one. You see, emerging boom in home services, costly substitute for ailing hospitals. And I've seen some of these homes springing up in Nigeria as well, and I think it's something we need to look at, because we also have an aging population in that sense. Yes, we have majority youths, but we also have the elderly, and sometimes their children are out of the country, they're left to fend for themselves. But the cost is another thing. On the one hand, it's quite costly. A lot of people don't mind. But then it means that the hospitals, some of them have geriatric centers, by the way, the hospitals are then losing their patients to these care homes. It's a good development, but also a bad development for our hospitals that are already ailing. So can we pick and choose what outcomes we have, or we just go with the flow?
Well, I think the roles of care homes and hospitals are actually mutually exclusive. Hospitals have a tendency for remedial care. They treat you when you are ailing. They don't do long-term palliative care like the care homes do, which is the care homes provide an environment for you to age with grace. They provide an environment that continues to try to give you the kind of quality of life you're used to, but in the absence of that close family network. Having said that, I think it's culturally reprehensible in Nigeria, the notion of us farming out our parents or our elderly ones to care homes to be looked after by others. We are a very family-centric culture, where even if all your children have gone overseas, there'll always be some relative, some distant relative, some younger niece from the village that will come and live with you and take care of you in your old age. I do see these care homes springing up, and they're actually starting to get patronage. So it starts to worry me that Western culture and Western ways are starting to seep into our own cultural orientation and beginning to alter our values somewhat. 20 years ago, you'd never hear the idea of any son or daughter sending their parents away to be cared for by strangers, to live in a strange environment, to be fed, clothed, bathed, medicined by strangers, essentially. what children would even do in those days would be to employ carers to come to the house, and then they would supervise even from a distance. But to now shut down the house, send the parent out, I think it reeks a bit of, in spite of the fact that it might be necessary, but sacrifices are necessary. In America and the UK, when you turn 18 years old, your parents kick you out. Go and make your own life and fend for yourself. So it comes full circle. When they age, you now kick them back out. So it's do me, I do you, God no go vex, you know. But we've never been like that. I know 40-something-year-olds who are still living in their parents' houses in Nigeria till today. So that's never been a part of our way. But where it becomes necessary, see, in Nigeria, we have the family structure as our social safety net. In Western countries, the government is your social safety net. That's why you end up in care homes. In Nigeria, it's never been necessary. But going back to your original contention, I don't really think it puts the hospitals in any kind of jeopardy in terms of their operational capabilities, because the requirements are different. They both serve different purposes. The hospitals really do the job of caring for you, and as soon as you get well enough, they ship you off. But the care homes are more long-term, geriatric, palliative care.
Fair enough. There's a lot more we can talk about on the front pages, but there's this thing that looms large, and I just wanted you to speak to it. It's not on the front page of The Guardian. Don't worry, you can come back to me, Director. And it's this. So the BRICS summit has ended. It didn't end yesterday, it didn't end 2 days ago, it didn't end 3 days ago, it ended about 4 days ago.
Yes.
But President Bola Tinubu is not back in the country. I've not heard about, I've not heard anything about this is what he will be doing afterwards. He was in St. Lucia for some time, a week plus actually. And people were like, what was he doing in St. Lucia? But it was already set, right? Then he went for the BRICS summit. But BRICS is over, and a lot of people are asking, where is our president? Do you think this is normal? Maybe in other climes where you, for a period of time, you wonder, is the president in France, in the UK, St. Lucia, or is he even in Abuja, and we don't know? Or what exactly?
Well, the president is a public servant. He works for us. By rights, we should know everything about him, his health, his itinerary, even what he eats for breakfast, if we're interested to that nitty-gritty detail. And say for in America, for example, if the president is going overseas for whatever reason, it's announced ahead of time. His full itinerary is given to the public, you know. So I've noticed that with President Tinubu, he's made a lot of foreign trips, and many of them are not fully explicated. He usually combines certain other personal things. He wants to go and rest, maybe he wants to see his doctors, but he's not been one who's been full with disclosure about his movement. And I think that robs the public of necessary knowledge in terms of those who lead us. We have a right, indeed, we have an obligation to know the state of his health, where he's going, what he's going there to do. I think it smacks of arrogance that you leave your constituency, you go on an official basis. A lot of people criticize the St. Lucia visit. Why a whole week in a country that has the population of Alimosho local government? What are you going to do there for a whole week? I mean, there's very little economic opportunity in terms of what Nigeria and St. Lucia can do. But he went for a week. Okay, so fine. Then he went to BRICS from there. But after that, all of a sudden, there's blackout on information. We don't know where he is, we don't know who he's with. I don't think it's the very best in a democratic dispensation that we don't know, we're not up to date on everything about the president on a daily basis. We should know.
I don't even know what to say. But it's interesting the kind of leadership we have in Africa. But I think they put out this information. So Mr. Onanuga is always the one putting out this information. So where's our president, Mr. Bayo Onanuga? Where is President Bola Tinubu? That's just what we're asking. breaks has ended. Did he go to somewhere to rest? He has a right to rest, by the way. Whatever it is that is happening to the president, let us know. Yes. Let us know. I think it's all right. We voted him in, so we need to know where he is.
Absolutely.
Because we can't see, in case there's an information we're not aware of. But right now, we cannot see that information. Mr. Dio, okay, so thank you so much for coming to the program. As always, your insights are well accepted, and it's always a pleasure to have you. It's Public Affairs Analyst having us always here with us. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll bring you our very first conversation, and it's politics. Join us again.